Hello. Welcome to another Minifest video. Let's go! I'm back at it again. This time I'm bringing you guys another tier list for Power of the Elements, baby. Got a bunch of decks to cover. Sprite, tiers, Ricker, etc. A bunch of stuff, you know, the drill. I mean, yeah, you guys know I don't like to drag on these intros too long, so make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let's just get right into it. Okay, so before we start, let's have a moment of silence for Meow Meow. You'll be missed. You turned all my prank kids into one-card combos, and you destroyed all my opponents. I'll truly miss you. Anyways, let's get started with the tier list. Okay, so there's a lot of decks to talk about. We're just going to go in order. The first deck we have here is ABC. The most popular version is ABC Fairy On. It was an okay deck last format, but it was bricky, and right now, if your deck's not consistent, then it's really rough trying to play it, in my opinion. It'll definitely be a rogue strategy. It'll still be there, but it's not going to be anywhere near the best decks, in my personal opinion. It's just not consistent enough at all. Next up, we have Marincess. This was a cool deck that popped up after its support in the recent side set that it got. Cool deck, but like pretty much everyone is playing Underworld Goddess now, so passing on a Towers isn't really the best. And most decks are putting out Toad better than this deck. Gonna have to put it in the rogue strategy alongside ABC. It's probably slightly better than ABC because it's more consistent. Next we have Sharks. This deck also got support in the Marincess set. It's cool. Like, the new Shark cards are pretty cool, but if you're playing Sharks, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why? Truly. Please tell me why. Why are you playing this? Next up, Sprites. This is a very good deck, obviously. Great results in the NA Regionals over the weekend. It's got first and second at both Columbus Regional and Fort Worth. And it took up over half of the top 8 spots in Knoxville. So it's been doing pretty well in the American Regionals. I expected to do just as well over here in Europe. So right now it will have to go in the God tier. We'll throw the frogs in right beside them because the frog version is probably the strongest version of the deck. Another strong version is the live twin version though. It's debatable whether it's just as strong as the frog version, because the live twin version has some cool plays it can do. Like, it can set up Cyflock easier than the frog version. It can set up Ibly Lock, which is pretty cool, pretty easily. And it plays around deck dev better because it's got a lot of search spells. So if you get deck dev, then you have like a search spell in hand, you can still like combo off pretty easily. For now, I will leave it at very strong, but it has very high potential in my personal opinion. Next up, we have at Ignister. This deck did pretty well last format. It got a bunch of tops here and there, ending on a Towers, some blinded second and tried to OTK. I tried to do that UK Nats. Went well the first 5 rounds, but we don't talk about what happened after. It's a strong deck. The Mathmech cards definitely boost the power level, but I think that pure Mathmechs at this point are just better than Ignister right now. And everyone is playing the Underworld Goddess, so it's really bad in my personal opinion. I'm going to have to put Ignister in the rogue category as much as this pains me. Next up, we have Morphtronics. Now, this deck has a FDK that's enabled it. I actually experienced this at locals. It takes forever to FDK your opponent, and it's pretty toxic if it does manage to do it, because it's like a million steps to get to the FDK. I don't think it's good. It doesn't get to the FDK very consistently, and it can't play through like a lot of interruption. I'm gonna have to also drop this in the rogue category. Next up, we have a deck that got boosted a lot by its new support card in Power of the Elements. We have Mathmechs. They got Circular, which is an insane card, and anyone who says otherwise is really dumb. Circular does so much for the deck, boosts it a lot, and the deck has been doing really well over here. It can easily break boards, can set up decent boards. It's a very strong competitor. It's one of the decks that can possibly break a full Sprite board without hand trapped, and that fact by itself is like pretty impressive. So I'm gonna put this in the very strong category. I put it just below the Live Twin build because the Live Twin build has the potential to be one of the best decks. Next up, we have Code Talkers. This deck also gets boosted by the Mathmech stuff because the Mathmech Circular is like free Cyberse bodies. So like any Cyberse deck gets buffed by that. Personally, this is just worse than Ignister, in my opinion. Like the microcoder stuff is good in other decks, but like by itself, Code Talkers I don't think is really that good. I think it's just a worse Ignister, personally. And Ignister right now is a worse Mathmech. So, you know, might as well get the rest of the Cyberse decks out of the way. So we got Cyberse Gadget. Personally, I'm going to put this in strong because there is some cool stuff you can do with Cyberse Gadget. I don't want to reveal anything because I'm trying to keep it on the low, but yeah, in due time, I will show you all the power of Cyberse Gadget. Shadow, it's strong in tier elements, but as a deck by itself, it's just another rogue strategy again. Next up, we have Heroes. They got some new support in Power of the Elements. I don't think I would play any of them in Heroes though. Maybe you could play the Instant Contact, I guess, but personally, I don't think any of the other cards are worth playing in the Omni Hero build. It's still at the same place for me. I mean, Darklaw is obviously still an insane card. DP is also an insane card. And Darklawing tier elements is just a free win. It's still a rogue deck, but it's probably the top of the rogue category, in my opinion. Next we have Punks. So like Punk tier elements are a thing, obviously. Punk tier elements are very strong. I probably put it in the very strong category. Like Pure Punk is also a thing that's been doing well here and there. Pack topped with it. If you've seen his deck profile, you can go ahead on his channel and check that out. It's a pretty cool deck. Good deck. Solid deck. Next up we have Drytron. I think Drytron is just one of those weird decks. It's like not tier 1 or 2. It's just like floating around a bit. So I'll leave it in a strong category, but like it can fluctuate either way, really. Just one of those decks. So now we have Sunavalon, which got boosted by the Rika cards. We have them separately for some reason, but Sunavalon in its current state is probably a rogue deck, but with the Rika support, I think it gets boosted up to the strong category because the Rika cards are pretty insane. And they boost the Sunavalon archetype a lot. I guess this is like pure Rika, and this is like Sunavalon mixed with Rika, because there's no way you're playing Sunavalon without the Rika cards, because the Rika cards are too good. So I guess I would put it like this: Sunavalon and then Rika, because pure Rika, there's no reason to play pure Rika. Playing the Sunavalon cards alongside the Rika are just too good. Like, they mesh together way too well to not play them together. Moving on, we have Fluanda and the Ease. I fucking hate this deck. I mean, yeah, as much as most people hate this deck, it is still like just one of those anti-meta decks. It's always going to be a good pick. Wind Warrior Statue's toxic to play against. D-Shifter, you know, all them cards. Like, D-Shifter's not as good against Sprite, so I don't think it's going to be in the very strong category. So I'm going to move it down to the strong category because, like, it's good going first, but, like, it's easy to break the board, like, because everyone's, like, maining Dark Ruler now and shit, so, like, it's not even that good, really. Next up, Pendulum. Pendulum hasn't done well at an event in, like, years. Sorry, Triff, but even you cannot redeem this deck. This deck needs a lot of cards off the list to be relevant, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm going to have to drop it in the Y category. Next up, we have Raid Raptor for some reason. I mean, it can combo off if it does combo off, but it's pretty garbage, not going to lie, Chief. I'm going to have to drop that in the Y category. Probably the worst out of them. If you're playing Raid Raptor in a large event, you need to rethink your life choices, to be honest. But, you know, Who am I to judge? You don't know the shit I've played at events. Okay, moving on. Salamangreat. This is another deck that sort of benefits from the circular stuff. Like, you can use the circular stuff to get, like, free extra bodies for OTKs and shit, I guess. But it's probably just worth playing hand traps instead, so it's definitely in the rogue category. Ignister, I think, is better than Salad. But Salad is probably better than Code Talkers, so I'm just gonna slide it right there in between them. And moving on, Ghoti, the new world premiere archetype in Power of the Elements, which was very disappointing. It's missing a lot of cards to be good, and I will have to drop it at the very bottom of the Y category and give you a big fat why. Why would you ever want to play this deck for a big event, to be honest? Like, the Umi support cards are cool. You can play, like, water control, I guess, but, like, it's really not that good, in my personal opinion. And I don't think it's going to do anything relevant, personally. So, yeah, it's just going to stay there until we get new support, I guess. Moving on, D. This deck is cool. Its end board is fine. Not that strong, to be honest. It's in the rogue category. It's probably worse than Marincess. I think it's just there. It's probably better than Shador, but worse than ABC. So, yeah, it's at the bottom end of the rogue category, in my opinion. Subterra, why is this here? It's not been relevant in years. Jesus. Adventure, this is still one of the best archetypes, and Adventure Sprite is probably going to be a very strong deck, so I'm going to leave it in the God category, because it is probably just like the best engine we've had in a while. We got Tri Brigades, they got buffed by Sprites as well. Like, Sprite Brigade is a very good strategy. It's probably not as strong as the very strong decks. It's probably in the strong category. I'd probably put it lower than all the other strong category decks, though. So, yeah. I'm going to put it right here, below Rika and Sunavalon. I actually think the plant deck is better than Drytron, so I'm going to move Drytron lower. Next up, we have the Lord himself. The Golden Chad. It's probably better than Flunders, to be honest. Setting 5 is very strong. Like, flipping skill drain on like a Sprite player is pretty much catastrophic unless they're playing the Adventure build or Open Smasher. So I'm gonna move this above Flunder because it's got a better matchup against these top tier decks. I don't think it's good enough to be in the very strong category. I don't think it's as good as these other decks, but like, this gets carried by trap cards, you know. Moving on from that, we have Virtual World, which did get a slight buff in Power of the Elements because the P.U.N.K Synchro can search Virtual World Lulu, so you can play P.U.N.K Virtual World, which is pretty cool, but it's probably not going to be any higher than Rogue. The added consistency is nice. I'll probably put it at the top of Rogue, to be honest. Next up, we have Earth Machines, which did get buffed in Power of the Elements because of the Vernusylph cards. The Vernusylph cards are really cool cards. They do help the Earth Machines out a lot, but again, it's probably going to be a rogue strategy. Probably the best out of this on this list so far, to be honest. But it is a very good rogue strategy, don't get me wrong. Definitely won't see it as much play or be as good as these other decks, in my personal opinion. Exosisters. This is very good to counter T-Elements. It's very good deck in general. You can set up like 4 banishers off of like 2 cards. So, you know, it's pretty strong. And I'll have to put this in the very strong category, but like at the bottom of the very strong category. I think Mathmechs are slightly better than Exosister. I think P.U.N.K T-Elements is better. Live Turn Sprite, Adventure Sprite, Frog Sprite. This God category looks a bit weird without T-Elements being in it, so I'm going to go ahead and drag them in now. I'll put them right next to Sprite Blue. I'm going to go ahead and move Based into the God category because I think that's probably going to be the best version of T-Elements, in my personal opinion. The branded version of T-Elements is also pretty good. I think it's slightly worse. Like, it's debatable if it's as good as the P.U.N.K one or if it's worse than the P.U.N.K one, but I'll just put it below because it has less options and like it's limited to just fusion summoning, so it gets fucked by D barrier really hard. So we've got to just put it there. Next we have Melfi's. The most competitive version is probably Melfi Sprite, so I'm going to have to give it a rogue category swiftly. Like, it's a funny deck, but I don't think it's going to do anything better than rogue. I don't think it's going to top any events anytime soon, personally. Dinos are still bad, so just got to put it at the bottom of the rogue category. They've not done anything in ages, specifically since Misk got hit, but, you know, Misk was their best card, so. Weather Painters, my boy Travis took this to Nationals. I'm sorry, bro, but that's going right at the bottom of the rogue category. Still playable, but it's not the best, is it? Sword Soul, it's really unplayable now. The deck is too fair. Like, it gets shit on by all these top tier decks now, really. I'm going to put it like below. It's still a strong deck, but probably like the worst of the strong decks. So I'm going to put it right there. Madolche. Now, you may be thinking why Madolche is here, but this deck actually gets buffed by Venusylph a lot. It's really easy to OTK with the Madolche stuff and the Venusylph together. They directly support each other. The continuous spell is really good in Madolche's. The onboard protection that it gives to all your Madolche's is really cracked. I think Madolche is pretty strong personally, but I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. So I will put it at the top of the rogue category because I think it has higher potential than the rest of the decks in the rogue category. But it's not going to see a lot of play, so I don't think I can put it higher than the rogue category. So that's where I will place it. Next we have Striker. It's just one of those decks that always gets played. Mystic Mind's not as good as before because, like, Adventure Sprite's playing both Dracoback and Smashers, so, like, it's super easy to out now. Against decks like Telements, it could just be game ending, so, like, it's cool. I'm just going to leave it in rogue category for now. I don't see it doing that well at an event until it gets the new support in the holiday box. Linkage is very good for the deck, so yeah. The only way I see it doing well is if it gets carried by an insane pilot like Ryan Yu. But other than that, I just don't think the deck's going to do that well. Moving on, Furions, like the Pure Furion deck that got played last format. I thought it was really bad last format. Like, it's a very high ceiling deck, but very inconsistent. If it pops off, it's really hard to stop, but it's really hard to pop off with the deck unless you open really good. So I'm going to have to put it in the rogue category, probably just above Striker, to be honest. Adamancipator has not done anything for a while, but it does get buffed in a new set because of the new level 2 water card that you can discard for an additional normal. You can summon it back if you control water and earth. You can also play the Sprite package in there, like summon a double negate Toad, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good deck, but it's probably still a rogue deck. Probably like down here in the rogue category. Probably better than Virtual World, but worse than Earth Machine. But there's probably a lot you can do with this deck. Like, there's probably some high ceiling strategy you can come up with that other people haven't thought of yet. So, like, get in the lab, show me what you guys can do with the deck, I guess. Because you guys can probably do something nutty with this deck that I just haven't realized yet. But I'm just going off, like, standard lists in the OCG, what this deck can do. Dynamorbia. Flip purple cards again, same boat as Eldlich, but not as good as Eldlich. The thing about Dynamorphia is you need to finish the game quickly or you're going to lose in time. Like, there's a lot of good cards you can play in the deck, a lot of good trap cards, but there's also a lot of good trap cards you can't play in the deck. Probably going to put it like here in the rogue category. Like, it could definitely get some wins off people, but a skilled pilot should know how to deal with the deck pretty easily. Next we have Dragonlink. Dragonlink's definitely still going to be a strong contender. Don't know about a tier 1 deck. It definitely has the potential to be a tier 1 deck, but I will probably just leave it in the very strong category for now. Because it can go either way. It can just see like no play and not do that well. or it can see a lot of play and keep doing well. It's just one of those decks that's always going to be very strong. So I'm going to leave it in very strong because it is always going to be very strong. And next is PK. We all thought this deck was going to be cracked at some point, but it just really wasn't. Probably worse than Melfi's, to be honest, but probably better than Heroes. Next up, Scareclaw. Oh my god, you better not be playing this deck. If you're playing this at Euros, you need to be ashamed. My lord, this deck is bad. Unchained is a funny rogue deck, but nothing special. I don't think it's that good. I think it will probably be like mid-tier, mid-rogue tier, like probably slightly better than Phantom Knights. Probably better than Melfi's, but Virtual Worlds can probably edge the deck, personally. Vernisylphs has super high potential, and mixed with the Madolche, it's cracked, so I'm going to put it right below Madolche. And Diameter, I've already rated the Mathmech, so I'll just put it next to Circular wherever I put it. So yeah, that has been the tier list. If I've missed any decks, make sure to drop them down below, and I'll let you know like where I would place them if I forgot them. But this is pretty much all the relevant decks that I think are going to be around. Again, I might have missed something. If I have, just let me know. I will make sure to comment down below with my rating for the decks that I did miss. If you don't agree with any of these, let me know down below. I'll make sure to respond, and we can have a good back and forth down in the comments. Who knows? I love having theoretical discussions about the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe. I've got more content underway. If you need any of the new cards from Power of the Elements, make sure to hit up Jam Jam Cards UK. And yeah, it's been your boy Mini Fez. I'll catch you guys next time.